How's it going, Star Seekers? I hope you're all doing okay, and welcome back to the channel, where today I'm bringing you another indie game review, this time for a game called Speed Limit. It's an action arcade game which doesn't stop to take a breath as it transitions from one genre to the next, forcing you to adapt to each new gameplay style on the fly. If you've ever wanted to relive a ton of different arcade game styles in a single sitting, then Speed Limit's unique genre warping experience offers just that. But trust me when I say you ain't gonna have an easy time along the way, as its trial by death gameplay mechanics are all part of the fun. Let's now jump, shoot, drive and fly our way into this review and see if you have what it takes to ride this roller coaster. So Speed Limit drops us into a rather unassuming main menu where we see some young fella on a train and a few shady looking individuals nearby unsuspiciously reading the morning papers. Beginning a new game, we get the choice of normal or easy difficulties, but neither are particularly easy, so I just went with normal. Now as the game begins, we get a short opening sequence where a dishevelled looking guy stumbles his way in from an adjoining train carriage before forcing a gun into the hands of our protagonist. From here on out, it's time to strap in tightly as the action begins and never lets up until the end of the game. Now as with every level in the game, we aren't really given an explanation on what we should be doing, and the only direction we get is a brief notice telling us to run and press A to jump. You needn't worry too much about the game's controls though, as in each level you only really have your movement done with the left thumbstick or D-pad and the A and ZR buttons, each of which perform actions specific to each level. You do sometimes have to use the right thumbstick to aim your weapon on a couple of levels, and part of the challenge in Speed Limit is learning how each game works, though I'm not gonna lie, among other things, this element of the game did have me a little frustrated at times. So this first level of the game is your standard platformer, and as with all of the game's levels, progression through the stage is linear, with this one requiring you to simply run to the right whilst avoiding or taking down the security forces pursuing you. After about 10 minutes playing, you'll likely get a feel for how tough the game is, as well as for the trial by death gameplay mechanics which are present in each of its stages. Speed Limit forces you to constantly think on the fly and try out new strategies each time you encounter new enemies for the first time, and I hit roadblocks several times in the first stage, firstly with this riot shield guy who kept smashing me backwards, and then again at this pile of luggage blocking my way forwards, but I eventually worked out what to do, slowly progressing through the level, though not before suffering plenty of deaths. When you do die, and trust me you will die, the game briefly rewinds to a previous checkpoint, and these are spaced apart frequently enough to challenge you, but not too far apart that you lose a ton of progress from dying. Now as I worked my way through the game's 10 stages, Speed Limit got my rage juices flowing nicely, and on more than one occasion I had to put down the game and take a breather before I popped a blood vessel. As with games like Electronic Super Joy or Super Meat Boy, by design you're supposed to die over and over until you finally get to the end of the stage, and I personally just don't have the patience to deal with repeated deaths within a short time span. Put quite simply, it drives me f***ing spur. Having said all this though, in comparison to those games, with Speed Limit I actually still found myself trying again and again to beat stages, eventually conquering each challenge before moving on to the next stage, and the seamless transitions between stages really impressed me, as you jump from a speeding train into the seat of a sports car, and then a couple of stages on swap out your car for a bike. When it comes to stage variety, I'm not going to be going into depth with each genre's actual gameplay mechanics, but you can expect things like platformers, side-scrolling shooters, and a third-person bike chase which feels like a road rash action movie. Overall, I found the variety impressive, and I loved the way Speed Limit kept gameplay feeling fresh, and I was always eager to see what genre the game would throw at me next, though I did find the 3D dogfight level to be a bit of a disappointment. The controls in this level were a bit awkward and I felt gameplay just wasn't up to the same standard, mainly due to the fact that you're forced into a constant corkscrew in order to target and shoot down enemy aircraft, and I think that players who suffer from motion sickness will really struggle with these stages. Now, so far as any issues I encountered with the game, I really don't have much to criticise. I think that maybe the explanations in certain levels could have been a bit clearer at times, as the controls flash up on the screen for a few seconds before they're gone for good. Missing these resulted in me dying a bunch of times before I actually realised what I was supposed to do, though as I've said previously, this does form part of the game's challenge. Other than this, the RNG can be a bit frustrating at times, though this is kept to a minimum, and occasionally the game would throw up a WTF moment, where you will have tried the same solution several times, and one of those times it randomly works for no apparent reason. When it comes to visuals and audio, I thought the developers did a fantastic job with both the artwork and sound design. Not only did they succeed in capturing the sights and sound of each classic arcade genre, they also managed to tie the game together as a whole by maintaining a similar colour palette throughout its entirety. As I said before, the stage transitions are really well done, but there are also some cool visual effects within stages themselves. Now, this review hasn't been as long or as detailed as my other reviews, as I've tried to refrain from spoiling things as much as I can. Much of the game's challenge comes from working out how to actually play the game, in addition to the different obstacles that you have to overcome. And while things can get frustrating at times, none of them felt unfair, and succeeding was usually down to a combination of fast reactions and memorising sequences of events. Despite me feeling the rage throughout the majority of the game, by the end of it I found that I'd actually really enjoyed my time playing, and I was left with a sense of achievement, which, while we're on the subject of achievements, the game has plenty of them for you to unlock, as well as a gallery displaying a few pieces of artwork. In terms of replayability, I think things are a little too structured to keep things challenging after your first playthrough, though there is an additional gameplay mode to unlock which I'm also going to have to keep under wraps. Overall, I thought that Speed Limit was a very impressive title, which might surprise a lot of people with its gameplay, though I do expect it to become one of those hidden eShop gems, as the screenshots alone don't do it justice, and as with this review, they can't give away too many of its secrets. When it comes to a rating, I'm going to be giving Speed Limit 4 out of 5 stars. If you're up for a challenge and love classic arcade games, then I highly recommend giving Speed Limit a go. Just make sure to bring a sick bag along for the ride in preparation for that one level. You can pick up Speed Limit when it releases in a couple of days from the UK Switch eShop for £9.99 or from the US eShop for $9.99. Alternatively, the game's also available on PlayStation, Xbox and Steam. And that about wraps up this review of Speed Limit for the Nintendo Switch. Don't forget to hit that like button if it helped you out, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below, and subscribe to the channel to be notified of new Switch game reviews I upload every few days. For now though, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and game on.